what are you doing to me, man? You got all this crap going on right now in this story, you know? You got the whole flashback with Odin and Whitebeard and Roger. You got, like, 13-year-old Shanks eating a chocolate bar on top of a corpse. So that he had an interesting childhood, if nothing else. Toki with her time powers. We don't know how that ties back into everything. In the present, we have this big epic battle with Kaido and the Straw Hats and the rest of the samurai about to happen. What's up with Denjiro? We still don't know where he's at. How does it tie back to Koshiro and Shimosuke Village in the east and Zoro? You got freaking Orochi and his master plan. How's that gonna go down? The Witching Hour boy, who's possibly maybe Izo, but maybe not. If not, where's Izo? Where's he gonna appear? And on top of all of that right now, in the last chapter, Oda decided it would be pertinent to introduce magical witch lady that has the power of the Mane Mane no Mi that knows all this stuff about the past of Wano. Okay, Oda, I mean, I thought we had enough on our plate right now, but magical witch lady that has the power of the Mane Mane no Mi that knows all this history of Wano and tells Orochi that it is his birthright to rise up and avenge his grandfather's legacy by becoming the Shogun. So, yeah, we're talking about her today. Why not? All right. So first off, a few things that I just I had an error that I made in the review. These things might turn out to be important in the grander scheme, or they might just be Oda messing around with us. The first thing isn't even that big of a deal. I highly doubt this is going to be anything major, but it was an error that I made. I said at the beginning when we first see this dude playing the shamisen in that old shack, you know, it's raining and Orochi's there meeting the old witch, and we hear this guy strumming the shamisen. I assumed that was the witch, because she has the power of the Mane Mane no Mi, and she can change her appearance at will. Whoever else she touched, she can transform into. It's Mr. Two's Devil Fruit power. It's actually not her, because he's wearing a different outfit for one thing, and we actually also see them both in the same shot later. So I don't know what's up with this dude. He's just some old grandpa just hanging out in a shack. Maybe he hires out his skills, like, hey, you need someone to sit in the background and play a shamisen in a really creepy way during a thunderstorm while you relay the information to the main enemy of this arc. You know, I'm for hire, you know, give me some coppers and I'll just sit there and play for you. So I don't know what's up with that dude. I don't think that dude's gonna be important, but it's not the witch, it's somebody else. Okay, now going along with the witch, probably the biggest thing that a lot of people mentioned in the review that I glossed over was that one of the faces she transformed into is most likely a younger Shiki. The Golden Lion, yeah, because when she first transforms into, like, a beautiful young woman, kind of resembles Kaguya, honestly, from Naruto, just a little bit. Do you see it? Just a little bit. And then after that, she transforms into Orochi himself, and then she transforms into a young man. Now, I didn't even realize this at first, because I'm used to seeing Shiki from the movie Strong World, when he looks like this, and it's only a small panel. We don't get to see, like, the full scope of, like, his hair or anything like that. And when I think of Shiki, I think of the golden hair, I think of the steering wheel lodged in his head. I don't necessarily think of his distinct eyebrows. I actually had to go back and look. But yeah, Shiki has some rather distinct eyebrows, actually looking at it now. The same eyebrows that the old witch has when transforms into this man. And also keep in mind, this was a long time ago. This meeting between the witch and Orochi was like over 40 years ago. This was before this flashback even started, because when the flashback started 41 years ago, Orochi was already in the service of Yasuie at the Hakumai region. This meeting took place even before that, okay? So I guess it could have taken place 41 years ago also, just slightly before Orochi, you know, joined up with Yasu's group. But yeah, it was at least 41 years ago. So, Shiki would have obviously been a lot younger at this point, and I think the way the Mane Mane no Mi works is that whenever you touch someone's face, you can transform into them at that exact age. So, for example, like Mr. 2 touched Zoro's face before he got the scar at age 19, so if Mr. 2 wanted to transform back into Zoro right now, it wouldn't transform into, like, older Zoro with the scar or anything. He would still be, like, pre-time skip Zoro, pre-time skip Luffy and Chopper and everything like that, okay? So I'm assuming that's how the Mane Mane no Mi works. You could probably overwrite it, like if Mr. 2 were to get back in the story, which would be great. I would love to see Mr. 2 Bon Clay again. But if he were to get back in the story right now and touch Zoro's face as he is right now, that would, like, overwrite his old face, and he would transform into Zoro at age 21 with the scar and everything right now, okay? So yeah, Shiki, most likely that is in fact him at a much younger age, back when he was on Rox's crew. How did the old witch end up touching Shiki's face, though? And I had the whole thing in the video where I brought up the Mane Mane no Mi, like, okay, how did the Mane Mane no Mi go from Wano, this isolated nation in the New World, to Mr. 2 having it now currently, who is from the East and, you know, did most of his operations in Paradise with, you know, Baroque works and everything. How did this work? So there's some interesting theories here regarding that, you know, whether or not the witch is actually like who she claims. Well, she doesn't actually say her name. Orochi even brings it up. Like, who are you? I think Orochi assumes that she's like one of the Kurozumi clan's elders, or maybe his grandmother or something, and the witch kind of cuts him off and is like, oh, my identity matters not. What matters is you become the shogun. So I assumed she was Orochi's grandmother. She was the wife to Kurozumi's granddaddy, the one that actually screwed the pooch on all this stuff, the one that actually tried to conspire to kill all the other daimyos, apparently succeeded in killing the other daimyos in all the attempt to take the shogunate for himself. Sukiyaki was born at like the last minute as like a miracle child. Kurozumi's plot was discovered, and, you know, he had to, you know, commit seppuku after that, and the whole Kurozumi clan fell from grace afterwards, okay? So that's what I assume. She had connections to that. But there's actually a theory, and I'm not the one that came up with this. This was something that popped up on Reddit, and somebody actually talked about it over in the comments section of the video, but it actually makes a lot of sense here. Okay, so one thing I did notice, and I'm sure a lot of people also noticed, there is a strong parallel here from when, you know, Treble gave Doflamingo the power to become the great Mafia Don that he became and rule over the Doflamingo family. You could definitely see a parallel there, right? Treble, you know, he gave little 10-year-old Doflamingo a gun and the Ito Ito no Mi, and is like, I will give you the power to, you know, make your dream a reality, for you to rule over everything, right? Kind of the same thing here with this old witch, where the old witch tells Orochi his birthright and all the stuff he's going to do and he's going to accomplish. You're going to be the shogun and all that stuff. She does it in a little bit more of a theatrical way than Treble did. Treble, I think, just noticed the potential that Doflamingo had with Conqueror's Haki and all that stuff, and his family lineage, you know, being a Tenryubito, and Treble just sensed, you know, if we follow this kid and we support him as best we can, you know, great things are going to come of it. So Treble, you know, helped out Doflamingo at that young age. The old witch is doing it a little bit more of a supernatural kind of way, because they're from Wano. At least Orochi is from Wano, so he would buy a little bit more into this whole thing. Like, oh, I've seen into the future, and your destiny lies at being shogun. So yeah, she does all that, and she rants and raves about how the Kurozumi clan fell, and how that was unfair, and how it's Orochi's duty to, you know, basically save their name, you know, live up to the legacy of his grandfather, okay? So to that end, she provides him with her services as the user of the Mane Mane no Mi, transforming into anybody that she's previously touched. So, you know, transforms into Odin to get Orochi into the palace, transforms into Sukiyaki to make Orochi the interim shogun, does all that stuff. She also provides him with the mythical zone Yamato no Orochi fruit, and gives it to him, and then he eats it and becomes the Orochi, and so he has his own power. Now, Orochi himself, still probably not a very strong fighter, but once again, Wano, very supernatural, so transforming into a giant 8-headed serpent, pretty much like bow before him, because yeah, he's our ruler, yeah, right, okay. So, also, I wanted to bring up that I think the reason, I mean, there's a practical reason for why Oda gave her the Mane Mane no Mi, basically doing the same thing that Mr. 2 did during Alabasta, transforming into royalty to kind of screw over an entire country. So that seems like the Mane Mane no Mi is kind of the best for that. But I think the other reason Oda gave her that fruit specifically, is because we now confirm the old witch is dead, because, you know, the fruit got put back into circulation. Mr. 2 Bonclay has it right now. So I guess that's just, I mean, we could have figured the old witch was old as well, like back during the flashback, but you never know with One Piece. You never do. Here's a big kicker, though. Here's something that's a big deal. We don't even know if that old woman is her actual form, is her actual, like, default appearance, if that's actually who she is. You know, if you have the power of the Mane Mane no Mi, you can transform into anybody you want that you've touched for as long as you want. There's no time limit or anything, and you transform from head to toe. Okay, so like that beautiful young woman we saw that kind of looked like Kaguya, that could have been her regular form. And then she touched an old woman at one point, and then she transforms into that old woman to kind of, sell the whole old witch, your legacy kind of prophecy to Orochi. It's possible. Now, regardless of that, yeah, she's most likely dead right now because the fruit got put back into circulation. I'm just throwing it out there that this form may not have been her original form, all right? So just keep that in mind there. But the other thing, and the big theory here to talk about is she's not actually from Wano at all. She's not connected to the Kurozumi clan in that way. She's not like an old witch elder. No, she's actually from outside Wano. Okay, the theory goes that she's a member of CP ages 0, or that she's perhaps, maybe not a member of 0, but she's a member of the government in some way. The idea here is that, and Whitebeard even brought this up in the last chapter, that the world government controls most of the world, but there's a few islands like Wano that are outside of their jurisdiction, that are free nations that, the world government can't control, no matter how hard they try. The issue with Wano being as isolated as it is, and it's hard to get to, it's in the New World, plus you got really strong samurai there and all that stuff. So I guess it wouldn't be ridiculous to assume that the government would try some really elaborate, really ridiculous plan in order to get Wano on their side. They have to think outside the box here. They can't just barge in with some battleships and attack the country. Also keep in mind that there's a large deposit of sea prism in Wano. There's gold in Wano. There's probably a lot of reasons why the government wants Wano to work with them rather than them just like Buster calling it into oblivion, okay? Because obviously the raw military might of the Marines and the world government far outclasses the single nation of Wano. Wano has a lot of really strong samurai and all that stuff, but I can imagine like if the government really wanted to obliterate Wano out of existence, I mean, they have the firepower to certainly do that, right? But no, they don't want to do that. They want to bring it into their organization so they have access to all their resources and everything, okay? So let's say, you get some government officials sitting around a table like, all right, how are we going to get Wano into our fold here? We need to come up with something really out of the box to make this work. What they came up with was this. They played on the superstitious aspect of Wano for one thing, so let's get some agent in there, pretend to be some old witch or some old warlock or whatever, and, there's the destiny, you are the chosen one. Let's select somebody at a young age, this would be Orochi, and then raise that individual up to become shogun, but at the same time kind of brainwashing them, at the same time kind of having complete control over them. Like, let's pick somebody stupid. Let's pick somebody that we can raise up to be shogun that even has a small claim to the throne, which is what, Orochi has. It's not even, he used to be a member of a daimyo family, but his father did his grandfather did horrible things, and they managed to get, removed from that status. They're no longer daimyos. So any claim that Orochi has to the throne is very minuscule, but at least it's still there. At least in Orochi's mind, he does deserve this, okay? So bring Orochi in, and then raise him up as this, stupid puppet king, basically. Have him be the ruler of Wano, and then the world government will control Orochi, and in proxy, they will control Wano. That's the basic gist of the theory. That the old woman is a member of CP0 or the world government, had the power of the Mane Mane no Mi, and then she went in there and she pretended to be the old witch, like, there's a prophecy and all that stuff, you have to fulfill this. And then Orochi, being Orochi, kind of being also one part rat bastard, like, I'm gonna become the shogun, and one part idiot, like, I could become the shogun. They put together there, and he's like, yeah, I'll listen to you, old witch, sure. Add in the whole little dusting of the whole fact that Wano is very superstitious and they believe in yokai and all these demons and everything. They think of Kaido as like a dragon god and all that stuff, and you have yourself the perfect plan, essentially. Except that's not how things ended up working out. Now, were they? No. Instead, Kaido got involved at some point. We still have no idea how that happened. But at some point, Kaido started working together with Orochi, and that kind of knocked the world government's like plan out of whack. You know, just like, oh crap, we didn't expect a Yonko to get involved here. And, you know, they obviously, you can't tell Orochi about the plan. The old witch can't be like, Orochi, you can't ally with Kaido because we're the world government and we're trying to control you, not him. Oh crap. I mean, you could try to lie to him and something, but Orochi might have just been like, Kaido has the power, Kaido can turn into a dragon, Kaido can make everybody fear me just because he's backing me, so I'm gonna go with Kaido here, right? And so Orochi went off the reservation a little bit, to use a term, and he's like, ah, crap, he was an idiot. We knew he was an idiot, but not this much of like an unpredictable idiot. We thought he was a predictable idiot, you know? So that's what Orochi's doing right now. He allied with Kaido, and now the world government is still trying to get in his good graces, try to bring him back over without him really knowing that they're the ones that played him all those years ago. So they're like giving him battleships, and then they had that whole meeting where there's like, I want Dr. Vegapunk, and they're like, we can't give you Vegapunk. He's like, well, I have Kaido backing me, so you're gonna do whatever I say. So yeah, it really does seem that, yeah, no longer in their good graces, but it's possible that that could have started. It was just a plan. It was a backfire on the world government, if anything. The world government had this really ridiculous plan, and it just failed splendidly, you know, so, and now Kaido and Orochi are working together, which is a really bad combination, okay? So yeah, that's the general theory. So let me know what you feel about that below, because I'm reading through that and I'm thinking, you know what, that does make a lot of sense, because you know, the Mane no Mi and everything like that has to get off of Wano at some point for Mr. 2 to have it. We know that now Orochi has a connection with the Aegis Zero because he's meeting with them, you know, before the big banquet, he met with them there. You know, that does sound like something the government is capable of doing. The government kind of had that same thing going on with Mother Caramel. Mother Caramel pretended to be this kindly old nun that was helping out these kids, and she was actually a trafficker. Bringing, you know, children into the service of the world government, orphans into the world government's little organization there. Except with the situation with Mother Caramel, or the Mountain Witch, as was her like title, her epithet, she was trying to bring the giants into the world government, because the giants, I imagine, are also not really allied with the world government. They're not, Elbaf is probably not as isolated as Wano is, but they're still probably like governing themselves, right? Although there are a few giants that do join up with the world government, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, Elbaf is an allied nation and they'll do whatever the world government says. As Jaguar D. Saul stated, there are more giants in the world than just at Elbaf, okay? Giants are allowed to leave Elbaf, and there's other islands where giants live, and those ones probably ended up joining the Marines. Some of them ended up joining the Marines, like Saul and LaCroix and Ronsei and everything like that, but that doesn't mean their homeland, Elbaf, is also allied with the world government. And a long time ago, it seems like none of them were. During Mother Caramel's time, she mentioned that she's the one that brought John Giant into the world government. John Giant was the very first giant that became a Marine. Just something interesting to think about. Regardless, she is dead now. So it's not like she's going to appear later. You know, we know that from the Mane, obviously, but we still might find out, like, the dregs of that plan. There might be somebody else in the world government that knows about that plan from decades ago, and we still might find out about it if that really is the case. Like, oh yeah, 40 years ago we attempted to do this, and it failed, and now we have this horrible situation where Orochi's allied with Kaido, and this big epic war is about to start, and now Big Mom's involved, you know? So it's sort of like, honestly, think of it like this. If you backtrack enough, if you keep going back in time through the series of events here, let's just take that world government plot, you know, at face value. Let's say that's actually what happened. We don't know for certain, but let's just say that happened. If the world government never got involved, then Orochi would have went his whole life probably never knowing his birthright. It's not really his birthright. It's my birthright to poison the other daimyos and become shogun. You know, it's not really that, but Orochi would have never known about that. Orochi would have probably just been the poor begging child and then a poor begging adult probably his entire life. You know, living in scorn from what his grandfather did. He probably would have never even known the whole story. And hey, that's something else. Even with this old witch, what she was telling Orochi, who's to say that was even true? Who's to say that story she told him was even accurate. She might have just been making stuff up. Whether or not she was part of the world government or just a crazy old witch living out in the swamps of Wano, she might have just been lying to him. You know, if she was a member of the Kurozumi clan, she's like, oh yes, this is the reason that, you know, your grandfather died, you have to avenge him. You know, that might, maybe all that stuff never even happened. But if the world government, let's say that was the case, if the world government never got involved, Orochi would have never attempted any of this. Kaido never probably would have allied with Wano. That never would have happened. You know, because Odin would have been the shogun, and that wouldn't have worked as well. I mean, I guess Kaido could have made an invasion, but it would be very different, because I'm imagining Orochi kind of left the door open for Kaido to come in and invade the country and kind of take out the Kozuki clan. If we didn't have Orochi as shogun, if it was Odin as the shogun, or Sukiyake, because it seems Orochi is the one that poisoned Sukiyake and killed him. So if Sukiyake or Odin were the shogun when Kaido arrived, if he attempted to take over Wano, probably wouldn't have worked out as well, which meant that Kaido would have never ruled over the place, Big Mom never would have allied with him, and we wouldn't have this horrible situation right now with all these different factions pulling together at Wano, having this big epic war that, worst case scenario, could actually destroy the world government and the Marines. If Kaido and Big Mom work together, pull their power, and after Wano gather even more power and then attack Marineford and Marijois, that's a very dangerous thing that even Sengoku and everyone were even talking about, how that could really be a world-ending kind of event. So, yeah, I kind of like that theory. I really do, because it makes it like the world government kind of is the ones that screwed everything over in the grand scope of things. You know, it's just like, man, if they were just fine with Wano being an isolated nation, if they never even got involved, then everything would be fine, you know? Or not fine, but better than where it is right now, right? So I like to chalk that up for like the world government doing something really stupid, but then sweeping it under the rug later after, oh yeah, it didn't work. Well, it's not our fault. Not our fault. Yeah, it's Kaido's fault. Not our fault. So that's why I like this theory. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about this and what you think about the old lady and the fact that she also touched Shiki at one point. I guess it's possible Shiki might have been from Wano. I mean, he dresses like it. It's possible also that the Rocks crew could have went to Wano at some point. But my point is, if she's like this isolated mountain swamp witch living out in freaking nowhere in Wano, where would she have the opportunity to touch one of the strongest pirates of that era? Is it possible? We don't really know. So yeah, that's something to think about. Where did she get this really ridiculous, rare, mythical zone? That's something to keep in mind. So yeah, just a few things they're not really adding up here. They might be trying to do the whole, like, pretend to be a supernat... Kind of like, you ever read Black Butler? The Emerald Witch or the Green Witch arc of Black Butler. Minor spoilers for that series, but they basically set up this, like, this whole little town in Germany, and there's a witch there that knows how to use magic, and there's werewolves in the forest, and it all turns out to be an undercover German government operation. Like, it was, like, magic isn't real, the werewolves weren't real, it was the German government just pretending so to make this girl create mustard gas. Yeah, read Black Butler, it's a good series. I just spoiled that entire arc, but still, it's a really good manga. Read it, okay? That's kind of something I'm getting the vibes from right here, okay? So, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Later, everyone. Barry, it's Saturday. What are you doing here? Coming into work on your day off. That shows dedication.